Hello, everybody. Hello. Hello. Putting a little earpiece in. Hi, everybody. We are live. We are live. We are live. Let's see. How's everybody doing? Wendell Poons. Very excited about today's show with Tony Desena, who has a lot of experience in a lot of different aspects of show business and did the Everybody Loves Raymond 6-year anniversary. We will cover, I posted that photo. Hello, Wendell Poons. Can you hear? Oh, look, hi, everybody. Hello. Teresa, you're in a snowstorm. Where? Teresa, so for everybody else, well, hello, El Centro. Hello, Paula. Good to see everybody on this Sunday. Hello. Hello, Norway. Hello. Gabs Brewer. Gabs. Yes. Hi, Steffi. Hello, Kathy. We have a lot of... So is the East Coast getting hit with snow? Is that what I'm seeing? Hello. Hello. Wow, a lot of great fans out there. So let's just see. Hello, Bobby in Hawaii. Is that it? All right, let's see. We had a couple of technical problems that we're trying to work through. Let's see if we can get Tony to join. Sending request again. Yes. Hello, Lisa. Hello, everybody. I assume you can hear me okay. Let's see. Gil, hello, Gil. Thank you, Gil, for that tidbit of information. Hello, Tony.
Hi.
Hi. Great, Tony. I'm glad you could join. So, hello. So Tony, right now I'm just saying hi to a bunch of our fans. Hello, Israel.
I hear too early?
No, you're not. No, there's no such thing as too early. Hello, Israel. Hello. So Tony is in Hollywood, the same place I am. Hello, New York City. Are you guys getting snow? Wendell, are they getting snow now, Tony?
Take it from me. I'm in LA. I should know.
Well, you have a lot of relatives on the East Coast, as do I. And I haven't heard, yeah. Hello. Oh, hello, Bobby in Maui. Wind chill is plus 80. Yes, torturous. I don't know how you get through. So, Tony, thanks for joining. I'm just going to try. When I don't have a guest, I try and answer as many questions as I can, because when I have a guest, I feel bad because then I have to say, oh, hold on, hello, Rancho Cucamonga, and so I will occasionally go back and answer some questions during our conversation, but just to give a little framework. Tony was a late night writer on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, on The Letterman Show, etc. And he also wrote on the Creative Arts Emmys, which I worked with him doing the Creative Arts Emmys. But for Raymond fans, he did the 6-year anniversary special, which I want to talk about. I posted a picture, Tony, of me, you, and Tim Conway, okay? And that, I don't know that you even know the story, but I'm going to fill in some backstory of why the photo with Tim Conway is so significant to me. And it goes all the way back to Bud Lake, New Jersey, a story that goes back to Bud Lake and Mount Olive, New Jersey, which, for those of you that don't know New Jersey geography, it's in the sticks of New Jersey, where Tony and I are both from. So, Tony, just tell me about the 6-year anniversary show. Tell me how that came about.
This is what I believe. Phil Rosenthal, the creator of the show, over the years, 6 years of the show's running, began going to more A-list parties and fundraisers and award shows, and he was being asked to speak on panels, and he was meeting people like Norman Lear, who would say, hey, I'm a big fan of the show. And that's, of course, very flattering when somebody like that says that. And then he bumps into somebody like Billy Bob. Hey, I'm a fan of the show. And I believe Phil mentioned this in passing to Les Moonves, who never misses a good opportunity, said, you should do an episode of clips with testimonials from these people. And at the end of the 6th season, that's what Phil did. And he asked me to do it because I helped put together the Carson anniversary shows. They're also clips.
Okay, the Johnny Carson anniversary shows, which were also clip shows. Yeah. So, and just for, yes, Ron Howard was in it. I'm just reading some of the comments. I don't know if you can read the comments, Tony, but just for the audience on network TV, Tony, because so many of these people are watching in reruns. Well, they're all watching in reruns, but the ability to make one more episode of a hit TV show without producing that show, meaning without having to write a script, etc. It's still produced. You still have to write it, but this is 1/2 hour of primetime television, means a lot of money to the network. So
1 hour, 1 hour.
Oh, sorry, 1 hour is huge.
Stretch it out, make some money.
Yes. So, and I don't know, I want to see some hearts of anybody who's ever seen that 1 hour clip show special, because when it airs in, I don't know, when they see it in Turkey, I don't know if they split up, because Tony, not to find out just how much you're making, but you must see some residuals from that, which tells me it is airing somewhere.
Oh yes, still around the world.
Yes. Okay, so we're getting some hearts, you know, and Tony, the frustrating thing for me is I wish, like on the show, I would be talking to the live audience. I can't, I can talk to the audience, but they can't talk back, but at least I get some hearts. Oh, so Gil, who's a big fan in England, he's saying it's on Amazon Prime, which is great. Paula also. Okay, so people have seen it. Okay, so now Tony, Phil has faith. Okay, he's cut together. It's on Peacock also, great. He's cut, you, Tony, have cut together clip shows, so let's give it to Tony, and then he can do it. And so what was that? Were you narrowing down at first a list of celebrities?
No, a list was given to me of people who Phil said, these people are fans of the show, and we'll make arrangements to go with the camera crew, and you just interview them for 5 or 10 minutes, get a little blurb, and we'll use it on the show. Great.
And so then,
it's amazing how many people there were and how little time we had in that 1 hour to show clips from the show and also testimonials from all these.
Yeah, and I wish, Tony, so basically what you end up having is, let's just say, I'm going to make up a number, but you might have 2 hours of interviews or an hour of interviews that you have to cut down, right? Because yeah. Ron Howard is not talking for 4 minutes.
That was actually very interesting. He did his interview with his brother Clint, who he's used in almost all his movies, and the two of them compared themselves to the characters of Ray and Robert. And Clint would say, you know, when I was a kid, everybody told me, hey, why don't you act like your big brother, Ron? And so he was the younger brother, but identifying more with Robert on the show.
Yes.
Ron Howard.
The underdog. And for those people who didn't, I don't know if, for example, Gil, you grew up in England, I'm going to assume. Mayberry, RFD, and the Andy Griffith Show were big hits in America. Ron Howard was a little kid on those shows. So Ron Howard, before he was a director, we knew him from Happy Days and these other shows strictly as an actor. So he was a childhood famous actor, and so that would put a little pressure on Clint, who also was a childhood actor. But that dynamic. So I'm just curious if people even know Richie Cunningham from Happy Days or Opie from the Andy Griffith Show.
They certainly know him from American Graffiti.
Yes, if they know, yes, that movie. Yeah. So Tony, I'm going to stop for a question from Paula. Were they all celebrities, or were there a few random people in there as well? Yes, there were a couple people I didn't recognize. Great point, Paula.
Did not recognize?
Yes.
Who were celebrities?
Civilians. No, civilians. There were common folk.
Yes. Yeah. I felt that we had to do that, because otherwise it was just celebrities patting each other on the back. And really, if you just stopped anybody on the street and asked them about the show, they, oh yeah, we love them. We like that guy. Just like my mother. Peter Boyle's just like my father. Everybody identified with it.
Yeah. So then, Paula, off of that statement, I don't, I don't remember what the chyron, and for those of you, the chyron is the lower graphic that comes up on the screen, and you can't say, Bob and Bill, unknown person number 7, right? So it's just a person being interviewed, but the celebrities you recognize.
Yes. Hopefully, yes.
Yeah, yes, hopefully. Yeah, so Paula, don't worry. It's not like these are celebrities where you go, should I know them? And you go, yes, of course. They were the second lead on the 3rd Karate Kid movie.
Tell in the future, if they're standing on the street and they are civilian, if they're sitting in a very nice room, lit, around, you know that they're.
Yeah. Yeah, if they're standing on the street, they're a civilian, and if they're in a beautiful room sitting in a chair, chances are a celebrity. So here's a question: were there any celebrities that you filmed that you had to cut out?
No, we used everybody.
Okay, because
and they were nice enough to do it. We would use something.
Yeah. Oh, and Leo says, did the celebrities get paid?
No, nobody got paid.
I hope you got paid, Tony, because. Yeah, that sweater doesn't buy itself. So so going back. Oh, sorry, Tony, I stepped on you. Going back, you now have all this footage, but it's all random stuff. So how do you go about it?
Really, you just look for the best soundbite. That's all. It's just like the guys at the 6 o'clock news. They go out and they interview somebody for maybe 5 minutes, and all they really want is a good 20-second soundbite. Something good and juicy, and I think each person had at least one thing that was sharp, funny, observational that we could use.
So then, though, you have to figure out what clips go with those comments, right?
The way it was structured, if you watch the show, you'll see that each act of the show was a tribute to one of the characters, and then we used the celebrity clips to talk about whichever character that was. So when we did this segment on Robert, we had the Howard brothers talking about being brothers. And then when you had the segment with Peter Boyle as, what was his name in the show?
As Frank? Oh, Frank. You mean Frank, yeah.
Norman Lear would say, my father was a screamer, and all sitcoms are based on families fighting. So that worked for the father. Something else we used for Marie's character, the mother, because they talked about their mother.
Yes. Perfect tie-ins. So Tony.
Great thing too was we got Mary Tyler Moore, the goddess of television, to talk about Deborah. And yes. Possibly Laura Petrie is the most famous TV wife of all time. And Deborah's probably in the top 5. So say like, well, and she knows comedy and she knows the marital dynamics. And she said, you need the friction. Even if they love each other, they love each other, you need the friction. And she was very insightful about that.
Yeah. And I think, Tony, that's a great point, because a lot of times I would hear, Deborah seems angry. I don't know. She seems whatever. And you go, okay, if Deborah and Ray aren't fighting, we have no show. If Deborah and Marie aren't fighting, we have no show. We have a boring watching people, getting along. And even some people are like, boy, I don't know. I get so frustrated with Ray. Great. I want to kill Marie. Perfect. That's what you're looking for, because I've said this before, Tony. I don't care who you are. Life is boring. Most of life is boring. So if we had a camera on Brad Pitt's day, it's boring. It's boring. You have to condense it down and make it interesting, which is why even reality TV is scripted and sculpted in a way that most people aren't aware of. And so when you make a 22-minute sitcom, you better have Deborah ready to kill Ray. You better have Marie, getting under the skin of the people in an intense way. So going back to Mary Tyler Moore, the thing that she is, as you say, it's literally like the king of comedy or queen of comedy anointing you in giving a compliment to Patty Heaton. And so I think for those of you who don't know, Mary Tyler Moore was on The Mary Tyler Moore Show and The Dick Van Dyke Show. And when Phil was trying to cast a female lead, I think it was when Patty was crying in Turkey or Fish, where she's crying because the turkey is not, whatever. And Phil was saying like, wow, she's beautiful, she's comedic, and she can show this emotion and you buy it. You buy her breakdown. And he was comparing it to, to the Dick Van Dyke Show and to Mary Tyler Moore in that, it's phenomenal. So then the celebrities introduce each of the characters, and then you have an abundance of riches. And at that point, you have 6 years.
Yeah, it was very tough.
And so, yeah, and I can't remember, Tony, did that air? That wasn't the season finale of season 6.
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah.
Okay. And I will say this, Tony. The amount that we have all forgotten who worked on the show. When I talked to Tucker, he's like, I knew that episode sounded familiar, and then I looked it up and I realized, oh, I wrote that episode, and I don't even remember writing it, Leo is asking why after 6 years. My guess is what Tony just said.
It was random. It wasn't my decision. It came from CBS.
Yes. So what I think happened is the head of CBS, after talking to Phil, was like, hey, why not now? We have a bunch of celebrities who love the show. Let's put together a clip show. And so that's how it came about. It could have happened in season 5. It couldn't have happened in season 1 because nobody knew the show.
And too, that once you get to the end of the season and you're limping toward the finish line, if you can get a free show, it's just, man, that saves a lot of wear and tear on the writers, on the crew, everybody.
Yeah. Yes, here's a comment I'm just reading, Tony. Yeah, it's great. It's found money. I've heard the criticism that Deborah becomes more angry, but I think Deborah just became more comfortable in her marriage with the family. She was a newlywed in the beginning. Yeah, that's true. Anybody gets more comfortable with their in-law, and at the beginning, even if you saw, Ray and I wrote the season 1 finale, and Deborah is championing, please let us move in across the street from your parents. We'll have babysitters. It'll work. And Ray is like, oh, no. You cannot be serious, And so she does over time. Also, there is a point where Marie has pushed Deborah to, year after year. And even now when I watch reruns, I go, oh, man, that is Marie is just insulting Deborah, right? Not even subtly, like she's punching her right in the mouth with this insult, So, yes, Leo, I don't know if season 6 reached its highest ratings. It might have been season 7 or 8, but it could have been. It very well could have been. Yes, Larry King, Tina's commenting, Larry King was on that also, which was interesting to me because I don't think of Larry King in comedy. Of course, he's a giant in the industry.
People must have met him somewhere, and he said that he was a fan of the show.
Yes, and what's funny is, as casually as you're saying that, Tony, about Phil met these celebrities, I saw Albert Brooks talking, and he said he was at a party, and Meryl Streep said, what do you have? Do you have anything for me? And he was working on Defending Your Life. And that's how it happened. That's how it happens a lot when you get up to these upper echelons.
Yes.
Very often there is no agent involved. There is no, and Ray has even told me where Ray got a part on Parenthood, and his agent calls Ray and goes, did you talk to the showrunner about Parenthood and said you would do his show? And Ray's like, yeah, I kind of did. It happened at dropping off kids at school, and Ray sees him, and you know how often that happens out here in Hollywood, and I think it surprises people. So Tony,
Larry was a big enough fan of the show that a few months later, the Museum of Television and Radio asked him to MC their annual fundraising dinner honoring Everybody Loves Raymond. And he did. He was the MC for the evening, and I know because I wrote the show.
So, I remember that. I'll post some pictures for those watching. They honored Barbara Walters, who was a big figure here in American television. And it was a fantastic evening, Tony. And I thought Larry delivered your jokes pretty well.
He didn't show up until 5 minutes before the show started. 5 minutes to 7, he got there because his driver took him to the actual Museum of Television. So by the time he got there, and I had not talked to him, he had not seen the script, but he's been doing this for about 70 years at this point, and he just nailed it. He was just great all night long. He was ad-libbing lines, and he was terrific. Yeah,
you can't. There's no substitute for that type of on-camera experience.
Yeah.
Okay, Wendell Poon. Sorry, Tony. I'm now reading some questions. Let's see. Scrolling back. Yes. Okay. Do commercials cost more during these summary episodes due to the numerous celebrities involved? No, I would say no. It's just for the ad rates. Go ahead, Tony. Sorry.
No, I think what they'll do is they'll tell advertisers, hey, we got a special 1 hour Raymond with celebrities in it, and we're going to add a bit more money. But not that they cost anymore. They've got a special event show, and that they feel like they can get a little bit more for it.
Yeah. And basically the ad rate is kind of set usually pretty early on. And I think and I don't know that end of the business that well, but you can't just surprise Ford Motor Company and say, hey, double the price for the ads next week. I mean, there's a lot of negotiation. So Wendell Poons says, is that how Dan Castellaneta ended up on ELR, through meeting celebrities? No. Dan Castellaneta was cast because the original guy who was cast on T-Ball had to be replaced. And I don't remember if Phil or Lou knew him from another thing, because the original guy they cast, Phil did know him. So that was just, who's a guy that fits that bill who acts? That's how he got cast, and because it was also day of replacement. Teresa writes, watching the reruns of Johnny Carson, they are incredible. Some things you could never use now.
Yeah.
So, Tony, off of that, and I'm just going to summarize for people who are just joining. This is Tom Cultipiano. I wrote on Everyone's Raymond for all 9 years. We're talking to Tony Desena, who wrote the 6 Year Special and who also worked on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson and Letterman and the Emmys. And we will talk about that Tim Conway photo that I posted. Yes. So, Teresa, you are correct. Some things you could never use now, but when you look back, we've gotten to this real, politically correct time. But even if you look back on the 50s, the forget even politically incorrect, just the norms of the day where most women didn't work. That was just understood. So when you go back in time, you can't look at a 1930s thing and say, I can't believe they're saying women don't work. And you're like, well, because they didn't. What do it's like looking at a Western and going, why don't they just take a car? I don't understand. Why don't they take a car? Or why doesn't this miscommunication in the Mary Tyler Moore Show just pick up your smartphone? So it's an unfair way of assessing, because we have this perspective right now where we're like, we have a cell phone, we have a smartphone, we have all this stuff. So in some ways, other than the kind of stuff where you cringe a little, where you go, oh, this is bad taste, you can't really it's hard to go back and judge people who were making that content from the time you are in now. You know, it's a little, yeah. Archie Bunker, yeah. Well, Archie Bunker is a good example. By the way, speaking of that, sorry, Leo saying Archie Bunker wouldn't be on now either. Maude wouldn't be on. Yeah, there's a lot. It's a little sad, Tony, because
I don't know.
Well, Archie,
revolutionary at the time. People may not remember 1970 for a guy who spoke the way.
Yeah, well,
that was pretty radical.
Yeah, I think the whole idea that Norman Lear had with Archie Bunker was to kind of give air to this type of thinking. And what he didn't count on was a lot of people were like, yeah, I agree with Archie. He's making some good points. And to be honest, the give and take, the back and forth between Meathead and Archie Bunker is invaluable.
Like Raymond, it's a fighting family. It's just a family who loves each other. In old family, they all live together under one roof. They all love each other, but they fought like hell.
Yeah, and Archie was coming from a place where he's not going. He wasn't thinking, oh, I'm going to be small-minded. He's thinking, no, I really feel this, and by having that character, you can hear the counterpoint being vented because. Well, like we talked about with Deborah, if you didn't have Deborah pushing back against Marie, then you wouldn't, it wouldn't be a show. You need to have a very strong opposition. And that's why, any time you're rooting in any movie for someone to succeed, they better have a lot of opposition. Otherwise, it's just, as I say, no one wants to see a story of, hey, I got the man or wife of my dreams. I won the lottery. And now I do everything I want anytime, all day. That's not an interesting story, and so you have to have that opposition. Yes,
Ray a lot of credit that he would allow his character to be, let's say, unsympathetic. Sometimes he was lazy. Sometimes he didn't want to do stuff around the house, but traditionally TV husbands have to be stalwart, good guys, good fathers, and sometimes he wanted to sneak out and golf.
Yeah. And that's close. Absolutely, Tony. And Ray wouldn't, I've heard stories of other actors going, okay, I'll go through, wait, Patty Heaton has 20 laughs and I only have 14. That's going to change. Ray, the more the other people got laughs, the better he was because he's in the show all the time. He would be like, oh, just give me one scene off during the week so I'm not in every scene. And by not being flattering and being a little bit accurate, I mean, that's pretty accurate portrayal of how Ray is in real life, And so it really speaks well, but it's what gives you that good comedy. Because if Ray was a super responsible husband who did everything and said to his mother, you're not coming over again unannounced, you have no show, Just
what you're saying is funny because one of the probably the most unique, unusual celebrities we got in the show talking was pitcher Curt Schilling and his wife. Everybody else was showbiz people, but they was sports. He was from sports, and his wife said, they're sitting next to each other, and she said, sometimes my husband, I don't like the way he acts. So I would watch the show, and I go, see Raymond, you see what he's doing? That's what you look like.
And for those of you who don't know, just because we have an international audience, Curt Schilling was a baseball pitcher, and he actually became a hero because he helped Boston. I believe the Red Sox, did they win the World Series for the first time since 1908 or something like that, or 1918 or
the playoffs? I don't know if they won the World Series, but
yeah. So he was very well revered and famous at that time. So, Tony, I want to tell this very personal story about Tim Conway that I don't know that you know the beginning of it, but I posted a photo. Let me see if I can pull it up here. I posted a photo of you and me and Tim Conway, and Tim Conway is holding an Emmy, okay, that he won. Okay, so there.
Just that night, he had won it.
Yeah, so he won for best guest actor, I want to say.
Coach? He was in Coach.
No, not Coach. It was after that. Coach was off the air. Okay. So for those of you who don't know, Tim Conway was in McHale's Navy, a bunch of movies, and he was in on something called the Carol Burnett Show, variety show, and he was hysterical. I'm racing through his career because we're going to run out of time, Tony. But he was a giant comedic figure, and I think the Carol Burnett Show was very iconic in America, but I don't think it plays internationally. So I don't know. I'm curious if anybody in the UK or in Australia even knows the Carol Burnett Show or knows Tim Conway even. Tim Conway was on the radio talking when I was maybe 23 or something. And I heard him being interviewed on the radio. And I thought, I'm going to, and I was in my girlfriend's apartment in Bud Lake, New Jersey. And I thought, I have to get my comedy career started. Okay. So a lot of iterations of doing, and it seems so far away, him talking about his experience in Hollywood and how he got started. I think he was from the Midwest, and how he got started and all this stuff. So I'm listening to this going, I have to get my comedy career going, right? And so cut to, I do stand-up, I do this, I meet Ray, I'm on Everest Raymond, I'm doing a bunch of different writing things. I meet you asked me to write on the Emmys to help you because you were the head writer. So I go, okay, I'm great, I'll do this. The year in that photo, Tim Conway is going to do a sketch. And so I write a sketch. I don't know if you remember the sketch, Tony, but I write this sketch where he's in the last row of the theater. And so for those of you watching, the Emmys would be at Nokia Live, which is a gigantic theater. And the Creative Arts Emmys, the Emmys is split into two evenings, the Creative Arts Emmys and then the Primetime Emmys, if that's accurate. And Tim Conway and, all the big celebrities go also to many different, to both. So Tom Hanks would be at the Creative Arts Emmy, biggest celebrities at Emmys that you guys don't see necessarily on TV. Tim Conway is going to present, and he's also going to do a sketch. The Nokia Live Theater is enormous. It's enormous. And so we did a sketch where Tim Conway is in the very back row of the theater. And the Nokia Live Theater is up against the Staples Arena where the Lakers would play and where Bruce Springsteen would perform. And so I wrote this sketch with you, Tony, and we check in with Tim Conway, and he's on the phone, and he goes, they're checking in, he goes, I'm either in the last row of the Nokia Live Theater or the front row of the Staples Center. I can't tell. I can't see the stage or something like that. And then we have somebody hold up a magnifying glass. Who was the host? Neil Patrick Harris and another, and boy, I can't remember, Sarah Chalk. And so I think whatever it was, we do that sketch. The evening goes on. Tim Conway wins an Emmy. He walks on stage, by the way, before they call the winner of this category. He just walks on stage and he happens to win, because in the Emmys, you don't know if you're going to win. You have no clue. It's not like some other shows. So he wins the Emmy. We run into him backstage in that photo I just showed you. And he said, oh, you wrote on Everest Raymond. He said, boy, my favorite episode of Everest Raymond is the one where it's called Jealous Robert, where Deborah elbows Ray in the groin, and he goes down because Ray is about to spill the beans, okay, to Robert. And I thought, wow, at that moment, I thought, who would have thought so many years ago when I was sitting in my girlfriend's, apartment, 3,000 miles from Hollywood, that listening to Tim Conway, that someday he would be telling me that he liked an episode that I wrote. And so he was so, Tony, he was so warm and just.
Yeah. Happy to be there, easy to work with, very fun.
Yeah. Yeah, great. And so, yes, Teresa, that's right. Little Gianni Ray and I wrote Jealous Robert, where I think, and the fans know more than me, Tony, of the shows that aired. I think it's the only time that Deborah and Marie got together and connived something as a team, right? I think for those watching, they would potentially know. you know. I mean, the cult episode, they tried to bring them back together, but this was like, Deborah and Marie joining forces. That's you know, that's a very scary allied, you know, thing. So I can't read the name. Wait, is it Syaf? Syaf Pages. Who was the writer to really make ELR like theater? Now, oh yes, in Christmas Picture. So Leo, you mean yes, in Christmas Picture, in Christmas Letter, they joined forces. Great, because Deborah Marie didn't like that Christmas letter that came. Excellent, excellent. Who was the writer to really make ELR like theater? Well, the short answer would be Phil. But every multi-camera sitcom, like All in the Family, sorry, not every, but like All in the Family, was like theater. You know, it was very much. It takes place by dint of the fact that it's a multi-camera sitcom. It's on stage, and so you can't go places. You can't go a lot of places. Now, Seinfeld, which is a hybrid, they called it, or Friends, which is a hybrid, they did a lot. They would do sometimes 40 scenes, and they'd film stuff outside, and then they would play back the film. But Raymond was, I think, because of Phil's theatrical background, much more like a play.
That made it hard to do a clip show because you couldn't get little nice snippets of one-liners. Sometimes the beauty of it was the way a scene built and built and built over maybe 2 or 3 or 4 minutes to a tremendous punchline or an emotional climax.
Yes.
You can't show a clip that long.
And Tony, you should complain to Phil at the time. You should be like, Phil, listen, you're killing me here.
There's so many clips that I wanted to use, and that was only 6 years.
Yeah, so you would have, yeah. And I think for those of you that watched, we did the series finale documentary, which included a lot of clips, which they had even more to pick from, but that was the drama of Patty losing her voice. All right, look at these great questions. Yes, it's hard to read here. I love these names, Tony. A lot of people, most people don't have their names. So from Pranav Snap, is that correct? You guys are finally working together. Epic line by Ray. Great. Yes, like the theater. Saraf, yes, it made it so much better. Are you a fan of, it's SAIF_pages. So are you a writer? Are you a fan of theater because it made it so much better in caps? Yes, making it like a theater. And what Tony's referring to, someone makes an entrance and it gets a giant laugh because you know what came before it. You can't show that on a clip show because it took 7 pages to build up Marie just entering and staring. And you go, okay. Did you get Tabby in the Suburbs? Sorry, Tony, I don't know if I stepped on it. Did you get permissions from family members whose stories might be told through the writers? Absolutely not. You would never, yeah. Well, first of all, almost all the stories changed. I talked about Jazz Records, which was based on what happened to me in my real life with my father. Almost everything, and here I will tell this short story, Tony. I was reading the guy who was the showrunner of I Love Lucy, Jess Oppenheimer. I'm reading his book now. And he says, he's out to a restaurant with his mother, who's very harsh, and he gets a serving of food. And she gets a serving of food, and her beans are cold. And he doesn't know this, but he sees her like, you know, where's the waitress? And he goes, what's the matter, Ma? My beans are cold. Well, let me handle it. No, I can handle it. I'll handle it. No, she gets the waitress over, and I guess she had a reputation of sometimes saying what she thought. So instead of saying, excuse me, my beans are cold, would you mind warming them? She goes, I wouldn't feed this to my dog. Okay. So he's like, oh my goodness. So then he's writing, before I Love Lucy, he's writing something else. and he says it's 2 a.m, and he's trying to finish this draft, and he's like, boy, this line would be perfect, but I can't do it. Then it's 3 a.m, then it's 5, and he goes, you know what? I'm going to put in what my mother said into the show. The show airs, and gets the phone call. He's dreading. His mother calls and said, are there really people like that? Completely unaware of how she's being characterized. And that happens more often than not. I think only a few, which I'll let Phil talk about, did he almost get in trouble with the in-laws when he included something that was so specific, you know? Hello, wow, this is great. This is great. All these comments. Sorry, I'm scrolling through. And Tony, when this gets posted, so people are watching us live now, but when this gets posted, all of the comments go away. So that's why I have to repeat the questions as I read them. I just got a cameo of Fred Stoller talking about ELR and his lines. Yes, Fred Stoller was great. Didn't Desi Arnaz start that theater style? Desi Arnaz started the 4-camera multicam shoot, absolutely. So I think when we're talking theater style, there's the multicam format, right? But then, like I said, Seinfeld is multicam, but it's not like theater. You couldn't do Seinfeld in the theater because there's 40, 50 scenes. Raymond, sometimes I wrote an episode with, I think, Tucker and Mike Royce that was called Golf for It. And I think we had 2 scenes. It was it was like a 20-page first scene and an 18-page second scene with a tag and a teaser. So Tony, just the difference now, because these are super fans, the first time you came to the offices of Raymond, what was your feeling? Because you're an outsider, right? And
that's exactly how you feel. And I've worked on other shows, and insulated, you become a family. You see the same people all the time in very intense ways, situations. So I was a guest in your house.
Right. And if you remember, Tony, I first started talking, you came to the writer's room, and I'm like, oh, here's a stranger in the writer's room where we never have strangers. And then we started talking, and you said, oh, this is for people that know Joe Piscopo, I'm from Jersey, you're from Jersey, and we're talking, whatever. But I think it was a friendly, all things considered, it was a friendly environment for an outsider walking in and going, basically doing something with our material.
Yes, I was put at ease. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Tony, here's a question from Bobby in Maui. Did you attend the final Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson?
Yes, I did. The people who attended that final episode was staff.
The only people.
Staff of the Tonight Show, some NBC people.
And Tony,
I worked there for 5 years. That was the only time I ever saw the show from out front.
Oh, okay. So, Tony, you specialized in writing monologue jokes and sketches for Johnny.
Pieces, Karnak, whatever we had to do.
Right. And you would, because it's a job, because this surprised me, you would leave often after the monologue because there was nothing else you could help with, and you had to crank out
I'd stay for the desk piece.
Right.
Letterman, everybody, they do a little piece at the desk, the read list, whatever it is. There's a little comedy bit right after the monologue. I would always do that.
Yes. And then you would
found who the guests were, then I didn't have to stay. So if I didn't care who the guest was, I would leave.
Yeah. And it was normal, right? Not all the writers stayed.
No, a lot of them didn't even stay that long.
Yeah, because you have to come in the next morning and just crank out material.
Yeah.
So, and Tony, was that an emotional end? Did the magnitude hit you? Because for those who are not from the U.S., Johnny was on for 30 years. So he was, there was no bigger icon for late night TV. So when he ended, it was the end of really an era you can't overstate it, the magnitude.
Yes, it was very, very emotional for everybody. Afterwards, Johnny had a little party at his house. He invited us over, not us, I mean, the whole staff.
Right.
People. And then the very next day, we had to go back to the office and clean out everything, move in on Monday.
Yeah, you were fired. You were all.
No sentimentality involved. It was your stuff. Get it out of here.
Yeah. What an amazing experience that must have been, Tony. And knowing Tony, I want you. I'm going to ask you. Unfortunately, I know you don't like the spotlight. I'm going to have to ask you to come back again. We can talk a little bit more now. We still have a little bit of time, but I want to, the next time you join me, I want you to tell the story of you arranging for Phil to have lunch with Johnny Carson and what happened there. All right, save that story because it's too good to try and accelerate through. And so, yeah, I think for the older viewers, for the people in the United States, Johnny Carson the magnitude is not lost on them. And I think nowadays, and we've talked about this a lot, the splitting of the audience is so much that you will never carry the weight of a Tonight Show or an All in the Family where you're reaching 20, 30, 40 million people regularly. So I do know if you did the Tonight Show in 1971 as a comedian, your career could be launched. Now, yes, and now you could say to somebody, oh, wait, you were on Fallon 23 times? Oh, I didn't see that. You know, it's such a mess. So for you, Tony,
yes,
did you have that feeling of like, wow, this is, I mean, you're at the height of late night.
Absolutely. In fact, my very first day there, I stayed to backstage to listen to the show. And when the band starts playing that theme song, that even though I'd heard it 10,000 times on TV, I never heard it live. And it just kicks ass all over the theater. And I thought, like, okay, this is the coolest thing in the whole world.
Yeah. That's awesome, Tony. And we'll tell the story next time also of your getting onto the Tonight Show. So let me go back to the 6 year special. Somebody wrote a question earlier. Was there any reaction from the cast to the 6 year anniversary special? And I personally don't remember ever.
In fact, I was very careful to make sure that each character got the same amount of time, just what you were saying before. Nobody got more laughs than anybody else. And they were all treated the same. So
yeah.
For no reason. Plus they got clips too. They got clip fees. So
yeah. And I think just for the people watching this, very seldom did I would go in on, Monday morning to work to the table read. Very seldom would they say, wow, that was a great episode that aired last night, or aired, on Tuesday, let's say. Boy, that episode really played well. I don't think I ever remember having that conversation with any of the cast members because the week before, when the show was done, before it aired, we would watch it in front of the live studio audience. So they would play it back. Phil would have it played back in front of the live audience. So the live audience now sees an unaired episode. So we've already seen it with an audience which you hear the laughs. So we already know how well it's going to play, So when it played on TV, it's, yes, my uncle called me and said he liked the show, So there was never a cast member, as far as I ever remember, they would never come in and go, boy, that 6 year special, I loved it, or I hated it, or they gave more time to Robert. That just didn't happen ever.
No, it shouldn't.
Yeah. Tony, Bobby from Maui wants to know, did you keep any items from the Tonight Show? And I'll add, Tony, the statute of limitations has worn off.
Did I?
So the Tonight Show.
And then at the very last show.
Read it, Tony, because it's backwards for the viewers.
It says May 22nd, 1992, good night. And at the party after the last Johnny Carson Tonight Show, there was a box of these matches at every place setting, at every table.
Oh, that said May and good night. Okay.
That's back when people were smoking.
Yes. And Tony, I should break out, and I will next time. I believe you took a stick from one of the, yes. For those that don't know, Tony, what is that sketch?
Tea Time Movie.
The Tea Time Movie. And what was his character's name?
Art Fern.
Art Fern, yes. Tea Time Movie. Tony has the stick that he would hit for Art Fern. And Tony, you
Last time.
sorry.
That was the last.
And you grabbed it. Tony, and just, I don't know if you have that picture of you with Johnny laughing within arm's reach.
Yeah.
Can you just hold that up to the camera, even though that's backwards? So I'm glad there's fans of The Tonight Show who are watching. For those of you that are under 30, you may not know. Yes, so there is Tony. Yes, his what? Yes, great. And I know you said something funny and made Johnny laugh.
Something dirty to make him laugh.
Yes, which is a great photo.
Very graciously, there's about 250 people there at this party at the Biltmore, the Queen Mary, or the Lowe's in Santa Monica, and everybody gets in line and takes a picture with him, which takes about an hour for him. And he smiles very nicely, and everybody gets a picture. And I knew that I'd have to say something to get him to actually laugh. So I said something a little off color, and he laughed. And I'm the only person who got a picture of him laughing.
Yeah. And so just for Lisa, and then we'll wrap it up, Tony. Lisa's asking, what was Johnny like off air?
He was actually very quiet. He was one of those guys who, there's a lot of them, who have their personality comes on when they're on. Off camera, they're not, they're just regular guys. He's not like Mel Brooks. Mel Brooks is always on. He's always on. Can't shut him up. Bad way, but that's Johnny was not that way.
Yeah, he was shy, and I'll say this for the fans of Everybody's Raven: Ray himself is very shy. If you know, I know Tony, you've been to my house when Ray is there, and I'm having a few people over. Ray is very shy. You wouldn't.
He's very uncomfortable.
Yeah, he's shy to the point where he's socially not. You know, he doesn't want to walk into a party and be like, okay, I'm here, you know, and Robin Williams was that way as well.
Yeah.
It's very interesting insights. And so, Tony, you had been, just for Johnny, there was times when you would write at his house in Malibu, and
we had meetings Monday mornings at his house in Malibu. Yeah. Technically not his house. It was his tennis pavilion. He had a tennis court across the street from his lot, across the street, had a tennis court put up, and with a 15-foot wall. And there was a guest house there, and that's where we met. Yes. Not in the house.
And it's, you know, Tony, we're going to run out of time, and we'll get we'll get more into this the next time you visit. But I think it's insightful from, you know, you've worked with Johnny, who's as big as there is in comedy. You've worked with David Letterman, and it's an interesting insight to these personalities, you know, which is a rarity, because most people aren't ever alone with Johnny Carson or David Letterman, who we can talk about the next time, because if it wasn't for David Letterman, there would be no Everybody Loves Raymond on the air.
Yes.
So we're just saying, all right, Tony, let me just scroll through and make sure I haven't missed any questions. Yes, awkward. Ray is shy. Yes, Ray is definitely shy. Tony is a great guest. Thank you. Thank you, Leo. You watched the episode with Frank Sinatra and Don Rickles. Yes, Barbara. Barbara, you're on Long Island. That's an amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a classic one. Was Ed afraid of Johnny?
Afraid? No, he was not afraid.
Yes.
No.
Well, no, because I do know
they had too much history. They went back. So.
Yeah, and so I would say this, Tony, because I was at when Ray made his appearance on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, his one and only appearance. I was in the audience watching, and I remember watching Ed, because as someone who didn't know, who wasn't obviously a writer on the show, when you're watching, you do feel like Ed is worried sometimes that he's going to say the wrong thing, and Johnny could be like, "You're off the show." As a viewer, I'm saying it's a valid question. Was Ed afraid of Johnny? But
Ed tells the story himself that one time he ad-libbed something that Johnny was just about to ad-lib himself. And Johnny just looked at him, and Ed immediately knew he made a mistake and said, "From now on, I remember who the star is here." And
and actually, Ed wrote a book called For Laughing Out Loud, I think, and he knew his place, and So anyway, all right. Who was Johnny's favorite guest host? Tabby in the suburbs is asking.
Favorite guest host? Gee, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. Did he have?
It's funny though. Unlike all the other late night hosts, Johnny had no fear of guest hosts. He had hundreds of them going back into the '60s. He had Woody Allen, Harry Belafonte, guest host in the '60s.
Joey Bishop.
And hosts today, they're a lot nervous about comparisons. If somebody looks better than them, they don't want to invite those comparisons. They don't have guest hosts.
Yeah. Well, at that point, I think Johnny was secure enough in his history that there was nobody was going to displace him.
In the '60s, Merv Griffin, Joey Bishop, like I said, they would guest host. He didn't care. He had Kermit the Frog guest hosted. Roy Clark, he didn't care. Anybody.
Yes.
Douglas guest host.
Teresa, yes. Joan Rivers until they had the falling out. Yes, that was a terrible thing.
Yeah.
All right, Tony. Thank you so much. You're going to have to come. Yeah, you're going to have to come back on. Unfortunately, because we still have more stories to tell. But thank you for sharing all these. And I will see you again, hopefully, when I call you and say, Tony, please come on again and finish those stories. But thanks for doing that 6-year clip show. We'll probably talk a little bit more about that next time also, because it's really a nice little summary of the first 6 years.
Yeah, I didn't even mention Bob Newhart. It was so cool to interview him in his house. And he had a special room with telephones all over the wall. He had like 50 telephones that he used to get from guests, friends, and gifts. He did not realize that when he first was a stand-up, in 1960, he used to do a telephone bit.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And to know that Bob Newhart is a fan of the show, I'm sure Phil was flattered to hell.
Yeah. Let's talk more about that next time, Tony, because we're out of time. All right. Thank you so much, Tony. And all the fans, everybody watching, thank you for all these great questions. And I really appreciate you writing in. Yes, Doc and John, I'm scrolling through. Thank you so much. Keep those questions coming. Next week, I'll just answer fan questions. So go ahead and write them. Anything that Tony and I missed, I'll ask Tony and I will write the answer. So much thanks to everybody around the world for watching. All right.